Welcome to Medical Sales U, the podcast. I'm your host, Dave Starrett, and today we are excited. We have a guest, a great guest, someone I've been looking forward to talking with. Brent Lavin is with us. Brent and I connected on LinkedIn, and I saw his profile and I saw some of his posts. I thought this man is an extraordinary leader. We could learn from him. He currently is leading strategic growth at BD. He's been involved with more than 20 product launches. He's been involved with multiple mergers and acquisitions and helped shape global teams. So, Brent, it is great to have you on the podcast.
Thanks so much for the invite, Dave. And I'm excited to be here.
Brent, tell us, we're going to keep it real in this podcast. And, our executives and our leaders and regional managers, people who want to grow in the industry, they're going to learn a lot from you. But we also have people that are brand new, or people that are trying to break into the industry. And I thought we could just start with the present. Tell us a little bit, Brent, who are you? And tell us a little bit about your current role.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. My current role is a little bit different than the previous 15 years in product management, but it's all set me up to be this director of strategic growth in our peripheral vascular business. And so it's really a portfolio management role where I'm looking at our current portfolio and how do we need to evolve that with organic programs and inorganic acquisitions in order to hit our growth targets in the long term. So it's a little bit different for me, but all of the previous experience in product management has set me up for that.
Wow, that's fantastic. Tell us a little bit about some of your roles leading up to this particular position. Now, how long have you currently been with BD?
Yeah, so I've been with BD since they bought CR Bard in 2018. So it's about 7 years of BD. And prior to that, it was about 7 years with CR Bard. Prior to that was 7 years with GE Healthcare. And in order to tell you a little bit about my previous experience, I'll go back to actually out of undergrad. I had an engineering degree and I liked innovation. I liked making things. I liked making things possible. And I joined a company that was doing engineering in a lot of different industries. But at the time I had a medical challenge. I landed in the ER and needed a CT scan that night, which provided a diagnosis for a surgery that happened 3 days later. And that was really the spark that said in me, I need to go work in med tech. And so I liked the engineering side, but I loved the customer commercial side. And so I've blended those two together in this product management role where I've helped lead teams to identify, execute, and launch that next innovation.
I love that personal story. Sometimes it's our challenges in life, the unexpected, the pain that will allow us to drive innovation, to think creatively. You obviously have a lot of challenges. What do you think is some of the biggest challenges that you face in a current role like this?
Yeah, I think that in any type of innovation role, the pace of change is so fast. The external pace of change is so fast. And in a regulated industry, programs take a long period of time to complete. And so you're trying to adapt and design something today that may not come to market for 7 years and really understand what the reality looks like in 7 years from now. So it's blending the fast change in the market with the steps that are required to innovate. And how do you blend those two? And so that's sometimes why we turn to mergers and acquisitions in order to more quickly fill a gap as the market changes.
For some of our listeners, they've been in the industry. They've worked a variety of different positions, and they're hearing your story. They're seeing your inspiring post on LinkedIn, and they're like, you know what? I think it would be great to be in Brent's position, heading up strategic growth. They think, it would be phenomenal to be part of, the decision makings in those mergers and acquisitions. If someone is out there in leadership and they want to grow, what are some other roles that they can currently do right now that will prepare them for success so that someday they can be like Brent Lavin?
Thanks, Dave. I consider myself a student of the game, and I want to know the other various functions as well as I know my own function. And so the way I would just answer that is to say, understand as much as you can about the regulatory environment, understand as much as you can about quality and finance, R&D, because these are really cohesive teams. And so if you want to up your leadership game, get good in your functional expertise, but learn other people's functions, because it's only through that teamwork that you move these things forward.
If you're trying to break into medical device or pharmaceutical sales, or maybe you're ready to reinvent yourself into a new specialty like oncology, our program, Medical Sales U, can help.
I just want to say that I'm extremely grateful for Dave Starrett and his program, Medical Sales U, which allowed me to transition from a clinical role into a rewarding career in sales.
He even taught me how to negotiate my sign-on bonus. I'm now making $60,000 more than I was as a pharmacist.
Our members come from every background: nurses, pharmacists, teachers, athletes, and they're breaking in fast, averaging $151,875 in 11 and a half weeks. Many are earning over $200K. The industry is changing lives. You can change lives. Check us out, Medical Sales U. Invest in yourself, and let's get you in the game. You obviously have had to build different skill sets throughout the years. And maybe you could just kind of walk us a little bit through your life, through your habits and your drive. What does it look like in a week of Brent Lavin? And tell us about some of the habits, some of the character forming things from the time you wake up throughout your day that keep you moving, that keep you innovative, that allow you to work with varieties of people and to continue to lead.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I have to go back to my early 20s where I was grounded in faith. And so that's like a bedrock conviction for me that helps me pursue these various activities to lead others well, and currently to lead my family well. And so I think that's where it starts for me in my 20s. But then it's also having a vision of how I could use my unique skills and abilities to impact the medtech industry. So I felt like I was good on the technical side, but I was also really good on the commercial side. So how do I blend those two together? And sometimes it takes a step of faith when I left a good paying engineering job to go pursue my MBA, because that was the path I wanted to follow. I also wanted to desperately work for GE Healthcare. The CT scan that changed my life was made by GE. They had a great leadership program, but they didn't recruit from my school. So you know what I did? I used my alumni network to then go pursue it. I got a summer internship. I drove an hour and a half one way for 3 months, and that was my foot in the door. And I ended up having 7 years at GE. And so sometimes it's about taking that risk. Sometimes it's about doing something that other people don't expect and just hustling to get to that next step. And now as my career's evolved, I've just been open to the next opportunity. And it doesn't always look like what I wanted it to. My current role is not something that I imagined 24 months ago. But when the need arose in the business and they asked me to do it, I said yes. So sometimes it's just being willing to step in and go lead through that circumstance. So those are a couple of things that I would say.
Over the years, you've taken on really big projects, right? It's incredible. You have the engineering mind, the business mind. What about talent? Have you had positions where you had to make the decisions in hiring? And when you're looking for talent, when you're looking to give somebody a new opportunity, what does that look like? What are you looking for when you're building out a team?
Yeah, I've hired and grown teams globally for nearly 15 years, and that's really hard because it's never black and white, and it's hard to to always shape a team. But I look at the individual, and a couple of things. I subscribe to the humble, hungry, and smart model, which is, are you humble enough to know that you can go learn? Are you hungry? Are you coachable? Can you get in there and learn and adapt? And then are you smart? Do you have that emotional intelligence to read the room, to understand situations? And so a lot of times on the marketing side, a position would open up and I would get a lot of interest because marketing makes brochures and it's a lot of fun, right? So I really wanted to understand, do you love the actual work of marketing, sitting in labs, riding with sales reps in the field, talking with doctors, being told when your product stinks? Do you love that piece of the work? And then, the one thing I would say is I always look to non-traditional backgrounds as well. I've had registered nurses work on my team and they were awesome. I've had professional marketers from consumer packaged goods that worked on my team. They were awesome. You don't have to have the exact background. You need some transferable skills and the ability to be coached and learn and then adapt.
I like it when you talk about those transferable skills. It's like Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great, you just find the right people and get them on the bus. And those transferable skills will relate to a variety of opportunities. When you're interviewing someone, you've worked globally. That is sometimes, as you mentioned, challenging. I'm curious here. What are some favorite questions? Can you think of any questions that you like to ask? Because sometimes you really don't know these people, right? But what are some of your favorite questions that you ask when you've interviewed someone in the past?
Yeah, one thing that I like to ask is, what's a brand or a product in the market outside of medical technology that you love? I'm a student of innovation, and I tell people I love the Jitterbug phone. If you're not familiar, it's a 9-key cell phone designed for seniors because they don't want all the apps. They don't want all the options. And it's perfect for the people that just want to make a phone call. So what they understood is that segment of the market. And then they targeted the innovation for that and they marketed straight to that. So I want to know, are they thinking critically about the world and how that could apply? The other favorite question that I always ask is, what do you do outside of work? And I think that reveals a lot about somebody. I tend to be family first, but I also invest in my fitness and in my health. And I love to do new things. And so, those are things that I think provide important insights into who people are.
You talk about your family first. You talk about your fitness, and I became a father later. I got married. I waited. I didn't get married until I was 40, and became a stepdad immediately. So Sydney was 8 at the time. It's been 4 years. My wife and I have our 4th year anniversary coming up. So Sydney was 8 when I married her mom. So Michelle and I got married in 2021. Sydney's now 12, and we have now a 3-year-old, David, and Luke is 1, and then another baby on the way. And,
Awesome.
Like you, I work a full-time job and have this side mentoring program on the side where I want to help other people. But talk to us a little bit about your family. Give us a little bit of an overview and tell us what you all do for fun.
Yeah. So thanks again for asking. I tell this story. We started out of the gate hot. We had twins. So we had just moved to Milwaukee. My wife found out she was pregnant. We had bought a house that was a bit of a fixer-upper, and I had started a new role at GE, a global role. And then we found out we were going to have twins. And so, it was kind of scary enough to think about, starting this new role as a dad, excited, scary, but then we're going to, have 2 boys. And it's been the joy of my life to help lead these kids. And so we started with twins, and then we had our 3rd while we were in Milwaukee. We moved to the desert really knowing nobody to start this job 14 years ago. And we ended up having our 4th. So 2 boys and 2 girls, all within 5 years. And it was awesome and challenging, but so rewarding. And I continue to learn through that process. Right now, those 2 boys are seniors, and I'm so excited about their future. And so they're evaluating colleges and other options. And then we have a sophomore as a girl, and our 12-year-old is in 7th grade. And we're outdoor people, and we're just, we love sports. We love the lakes and the mountains and camping and the ocean. And so we try to just do, what we can together. That's become less and less as the kids become teenagers and you evolve. But we spent, our week in Wisconsin this summer, and we've done that every year. And we happen to be taking a family vacation in September this year. So we do what we can, and this time will be short, and we'll be on to the next season very soon.
I love that. You got an outdoor family, and you are making it happen. You're raising up the next generation as a dad, as a husband, and so we love that. What about books, growth, personal growth? What are some things that you do personally? You're obviously a learner. How old were you when you went back to get your MBA? You got your MBA. You kind of reinvented yourself, because tell us a little bit about your MBA and then what you're currently reading as well.
Yeah, so I reinvented myself pretty early. I spent 4.5 years getting an engineering degree. And then after 3.5 years of working, I said, well, I don't want that job. I want a different job. So the funny story about that is I was going to go do a part-time MBA, and I was going to do it nights and weekends and things like that. And I was engaged to be married. And I just had this realization by talking to people that if I really wanted to make the career switch that I did, that I needed to go full time. And that was scary because I had paid off my college, but we were just starting to build our family. And my wife was 100% on board. She's like, we have to go do this. And she worked full time while I did school full time. And then we joined GE, and that required a bunch of moving and travel early, but it was great formative experience. And we grew closer, through that. And then, I'm going to pivot a little bit on the, kind of the books and the learning. One thing I'm really passionate about in leadership is really how to scale your leadership, because I started, I would say, small and slow for the first 5 to 6 years. It was 1, 2, 4, eventually 5 people, but it was very slow. And in my ambitious self, I was like, well, I want to do more, right? But I learned all those skills at a small scale. When the big opportunity came around, I was all of a sudden leading 22 people. And that's really tough to scale. But I was able to do it through some books and podcasts and things like that. I'm a big fan of Liz Wiseman's Multipliers book. I think it's a sleeper out there. If you haven't read it, I'd highly recommend it.
Add that to my list.
Yeah, when I was going through this process, it just helped unlock what is naturally a detail-oriented approach to be more of an empowering and trusting culture.
I love that. I'm going to add that to my list. I listen to audiobooks, and I'm in that season now with Little. So more time listening to the car. Let's see here. Other questions here. Okay. Vacation. Did you take one this summer?
Yeah. So we moved out to the desert all away from family. It's kind of the opposite of what a lot of people do. But my wife and I have kind of an independent, streak, very family oriented, but we wanted to chart our own path. And but what we did is we committed to go back every 4th of July. And who doesn't want to be in Wisconsin over the 4th, right? It's way better than Arizona. And my kids would prefer that versus some big extravagant vacation, because that's where their cousins are, their grandparents, there's a parade and fireworks. And so it's interesting because we've done things, we've added things, but we still do the same go-karts, and my boys have their driver's license, and these are little putt-putt go-karts, but we got to do it because that's the tradition. And so I would say, Dave, if you're open to any advice, create a lot of traditions. Don't hold them, so firm to them, but the traditions in our family life has been phenomenal.
That's great advice. I love some of your father leadership insights. And then as we're wrapping this up, one more question. You've grown as a leader. You've led teams. You've built teams. You've multiplied. And as a team, you all have gotten a lot done. If you could take us back to the early days, because I think some of the people that come to me, they're trying to reinvent themselves, or maybe trying to break into the first time, or they had their first position and they joined this program and they want to kind of reinvent themselves and grow. And so I just am curious, like, what is another lesson that you learned early on
Yeah.
that you decided, and because you made that decision to do this early on in your own personal leadership, it has really impacted the way you've gone? You've shared some of them, but can you think of one more to kind of close this podcast home?
Yeah, I think making that leap from engineering to the commercial side took, first and foremost, a belief in myself. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that will label you as an engineer, or they will label you as certain kind of salesperson, or they'll label you. And the first thing you have to do is believe in yourself. It sounds so cliche, but I needed to break free from that. And when they said, we don't recruit at Wisconsin for this GE program, I said, that's fine, because I interned over here and this is who I know. And I had built a relationship network. And so color outside the lines and chart your own path. And it's going to be hard, but talk to people that you trust and break down those barriers. So that was the key for me, was to make the leap from engineer to commercial. I had to really be specific and pointed, and I was able to do that while I interned and then got the full-time job at GE.
Wow, what a story. You made that decision early in life. It has impacted you. And I think that is inspiring for our audience, that no matter who they are, maybe it's an engineering background, maybe it's a clinical background, maybe they're like me. I had a religion background. I was a teacher. I was in the nonprofit world, writing faith-based books, going on mission trips, and I just wasn't reaching my financial goals. I didn't have a science background, a business background, but I chose to reinvent myself. And when I did that, I waited till I was 35 when I jumped into this industry. And I thought, if someday I was single, I was broke, I was going on these mission trips, I was writing some books. And yet I thought, if I want to get married someday, lead a family and grow, I need to think of something else. And I knew that I could sell, because, when I'm speaking at a university and talking about faith, I'm talking about God, I'm talking about Jesus, it's not always the most popular, and there was objections, and I had to stand and just calmly answer those objections. And so when I broke into this, I thought, you know what? We have this mission to defeat cancer, to give hope to these patients. And if I can talk about faith in front of hundreds and even sometimes thousands of people, I can talk to doctors about this. So I reinvented myself. And I think your story of reinventing yourself early on, and yet developing those habits, and the way you lead your family, the way you lead your teams, and globally, is making the impact. And so I just want to thank you, Brent, so much for your insights. It's inspiring the next generation. And we just hope to connect more people with you. And thank you so much for joining. If they want to get in touch with you, you're on LinkedIn. Is that probably the best place? That's where I connected with you.
That is the best place. Yeah, it's Brent Lavin, MBA. I look pretty much the same. And, I try to post two to three times a week. I'm not, super active, but just trying to pass on to the next generation some of the lessons that I've learned and teach myself along the way. And Dave, I'm inspired by your story. It's never too late to reinvent yourself. So I love this podcast, and glad that you invited me as a guest.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Well, you take care, Brent. Thank you so much.
All right. Great.
Take care.